Okay, today is the 1st of March. Happy March. So, knowing what we're going to do, we're going to start off by talking about a community that might exist right around here. So you already know what a community is, right? Community is all the populations that live and interact in a particular area. And it's sort of the level down from ecosystem. So a community in Columbiana County, Ohio could include coyotes and rabbits and bluebirds and earthworms and ground beetles and tiger beetles and pill bugs and I'm not looking, grasshoppers and on and on and on. And 10 caterpillars, pawpaws, orchard grass, 3 kinds of clover, 16 kinds of grass, a couple thousand species of bacteria. I only listed one for space. Some wild cherry trees, all of them. And they're all going to interact. Tapeworms! Oh, never forget the tapeworms. Okay. All of these things could be in a community right here. It could be a field, a forest community in Columbiana County, Ohio. So we're going to look at relationships between them, and to do that, we need to define a term first, which is symbiotic. So this was on your vocabulary, if you recall. And what parts of the word symbiotic did you recognize? What little chunks did you recognize? And bio means what? Life, living things. So it relates to life. Anything else in symbiotic that you recognize? What does sim mean? Similar, same. Really, it looks at together. Together. So we have living things together. A symbiotic relationship is a relationship between 2 different species. Okay? And we started to touch on that in the last chapter, but we're going to flesh that out a little bit. So there are 5 major classifications of symbiotic relationships. We'll talk about all of them. We won't spend a lot of time on predation and parasitism, even though parasitism is lots of fun. I've got lots of great pictures and stories about parasites because I just think they're fascinating. But we'll spend most of our time on mutualism and commensalism and competition. Here's the test. In order to know if something is a symbiotic relationship, here are the questions you have to ask. Number 1, are we talking about 2 different species? Number 2, is this relationship multi-generational and long-term? Okay. So I'll use one of my favorites. I'm thinking about dogs a lot today. We're in doggy hospice at home. Our old dog is clearly on her way out at this point. It happens. Dogs have a shorter lifespan than humans, which is sad. So I have this relationship with this dog. Is that 2 different species? Yes. Is my relationship with her multi-generational? My relationship with her is not. But my species relationship with her species goes back about 20,000 years. Go home and look at your dog in the eye and say, 20,000 years, 20,000 years, I love you. Scratch, 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 scratch. Give them some sternum scratchies. They like those. 20,000 years of sternum scratchies. Okay, and helping us hunt and doing a whole lot of other things. And we'll talk about, we will talk more about the relationship between dogs and humans because I think it's fascinating. I like it. So when you look at a relationship and you want to know if it's symbiotic, those are the 2 questions. Is it more than 1 species? Is it multi-generational? And the answer to both of those has to be yes, and then it is a symbiotic relationship. So we're going to very briefly talk a little bit about the first of these 5 kinds. And you guys already kind of identified what predation is. One animal hunts and kills and eats another. It's about getting calories. We'll watch some more crash course videos with Hank because he's got a good series on competition and cooperation. Biology is about staying alive and reproducing. And staying alive means getting enough calories and not getting eaten by something else. So, predators, predation. There are the 2 sides of it. Somebody captures, kills, and consumes somebody else. Predator, prey. Now, here's the cool part. Because we're not interested in just what a predator is and what prey is. Like I said, that's a 5th grade question. What we're interested in, because remember, we're talking about community ecology, is how predation changes the populations within a community. How does one population in a community affect another population? More coyotes, fewer bunnies. More bunnies, more coyotes. Better food source, more bebes. And more pups will live to adulthood because their parents can bring them back more food. So predation is a very effective regulator of population size, and we ain't kidding. Turn a predator loose in an area where a species has not had predators in the past, and you will see populations change. Perhaps you can think of an example with deer and wolves and an island that you've looked at fairly recently. In situations where we have species that don't have any natural predators, we tend to see populations of those species get really high, unsustainably high. And when you introduce a predator, that brings those species into control. In regard, nobody seemed to think that it was a good idea. Every time they have an issue with suburban houses surrounding metropolitan park districts getting their shrubberies eaten by deer, I always say, well, that's easy, just introduce wolves. And everybody goes, you're crazy! Yeah, but it'd be fun. So you can't do that. We're not going to reintroduce wolves in Ohio, clearly. We have the luxury of living in a time and place where there isn't a whole lot out in the wild that is stalking to kill and eat us. We are not a prey species, for the most part, at this point in history, which is kind of nice. I enjoy sleeping out on the porch with no tent and not worrying about cougars coming and dragging me off and eating me in the night. It's kind of relaxing. It wasn't always true around here, you realize. 200 years ago, you could have been eaten by a cougar right outside your cabin, huh?
Sleep on your porch.
Well, on a nice summer evening, you can fall asleep in a hammock. Why not? It's beautiful. You can listen to the bugs and the frogs. It's a wonderful thing. Spend a lot of time talking about predators and prey, and we're not. But there are a few finer points that I want to clear up about predators and prey. Can a rabbit, so what is a rabbit, predator or prey? Prey species. Poor little bunnies, they get eaten all the time. We're going to talk more about them. So predation is a very powerful force that drives evolution. Lousy predators don't get enough to eat. They die and their babies die. That's the way it works. Nature, she is a cruel mistress. Natural selection favors the fast and the fleet of foot and the sharp of tooth. So, remember, evolution is all about who survives and who has some advantage that allows their babies to survive in higher numbers. Being a really effective predator, that's a good way to make sure your babies survive. Natural selection also tends to favor animals that don't get eaten so easily. Can everybody see the prey species in that picture? Here? Can anybody see it? Well, where are you seeing it? I wish you had a laser pointer. Is it going up and down or sideways? Up and down. You see it? Where is it?
It's on that main big stem.
Right here?
No, that's what I thought it was.
That's it. You know what that is? That is a tomato hornworm. I hate them. Passionately and fiercely, I have tried to train 3 dogs in a row to eat them in my garden. I've never had any success. Of course, I've also tried to train dogs to use the vacuum cleaner and make coffee, and that didn't work either. So, bunch. It's a joke, guys, I know. No opposable thumbs. So, this is a tomato hornworm, and when you are looking at a bunch of tomato plants, you would never see them. The best evidence is that you walk out at 9 o'clock in the morning and you look at your lovely tomato plants, and then you walk back out at 10, and half the tomato plant is gone. They consume the leaves and the stems, and all that's left is a bunch of little frass pellets. That's caterpillar poop for the uninitiated, frass. And they are so hard to see, so hard to pick out, because they are exactly the same color as tomato stems. Now, put them on a cabbage leaf and they show up like a big neon sign. But try picking them off tomato plants. I have picked a lot of them and smashed them. I don't smash a lot of bugs, but you mess with my tomato plants, you're going to be a big pile of green goop. So, natural selection has favored tomato hornworms who blend right in. Cabbage, who here has a garden and has cabbage or Brussels sprouts or kale or any of that? Cabbage moths are another species I could have pictured here. And a cabbage moth on a cabbage leaf is just about identical and just about invisible in color. I also spend mornings picking them off. My daughter and I fed a bunch of them to a spider we found last year. We will pick this up tomorrow. Have a good day.